If you think of what interests people have, there's a fellowship for it.
You share the same interest, you share the same hobby.
Photography is a fellowship. Swimming is a fellowship. There's so many fellowships.
Within the last year or so, I've gained so much more Rotary friends through fellowship. The fellowship that I belong to is a cycling fellowship, and we're able to raise money for polio just by riding our bikes.
It's the fact of taking your passions, your hobbies, and making that into a service opportunity, into a social opportunity. We do learn to surf events for high school kids, beach cleanups, things like that. It's also attracted people who are into those types of events to seek out, what is Rotary about?
Rotary Friendship Exchange is an opportunity for you to visit new places, learn about cultures.
To be received with warmth and friendship, that is the ultimate travel experience in my mind.
You get to connect with a family there that will show you around. You explore things you never thought you would explore.
And also sometimes integrating local projects. Friendship exchanges are open to anyone.
It's something you can do with your friends, your family, your kids, better than a vacation. Hands down, best.
The great thing about a project fair is that it brings Rotarians from different parts of the world to one venue.
When they come, they are looking for projects that can help them to meet their club's goals.
The Rotary clubs offer different projects in different areas of focus.
The hosts put together project visits and other kind of tours.
People become friends, and friendship engenders trust.
The personal contact is the main purpose of a project fair.
ICC or intercountry committees are an important part for peace and friendship.
The intercountry committee operates between two countries.
And it's very important for Rotary to have this sort of experts to promote activities and relations between the two countries.
Projects are done by the clubs and not by the ICC, but they try to help them to do this project.
Go beyond your borders and do your part to reach peace through service.
Hello, my name is Cyndi Doragh, past District Governor for District 6960 and Chair of this event, Encore, Rotary Remains Relevant, an initiative supporting Rotary Works. As a Rotarian for the last 30 plus years, I practice our motto of service above self literally in my everyday life. And what better way to uphold our Rotary values than to serve our members in need? Over the last 18 plus months, the Rotary Works initiative has provided significant opportunities to support and improve the career transitions and lives of countless Rotarians and Rotaractors throughout zones 33 and 34. The Rotary Works Encore event also offers valuable insight and information on how Rotary remains relevant in today's world and among our Rotary family. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Join us at Encore and help realize that joy is found in service to others. Thank you.
It was 5 years into the 20th century, and the city of the Big Shoulders was already an industrial giant and growing. Its people were a perfect example of the American melting pot, arriving from all corners of the world with a wide variety of skills and talents, but a common belief that hard work and better ideas made all things possible. In 1871, they had designed and built the world's first metal frame skyscraper. In 1900, innovative engineers actually reversed the flow of the Chicago River, while its factories, steel mills, and businesses of every description shipped their products around the globe. Against this bustling backdrop in 1905, Chicago and Paul Harris had an idea that business and professional people could join together in fellowship and service to the community. What he didn't know was how quickly his idea, Rotary, would take root and spread throughout the world. Rotary One Chicago, the world's first service club, is proud to share with you the earliest and only film taken of Paul Harris and the boys of 1905. It was shot in the 20s, rescued from the Rotary One archives, and restored by Rotarians. By the 1920s, Rotary was well established throughout North America, and Rotarians delighted, as they do today, in visiting the founding club, Rotary One Chicago. It was only natural that Scarsdale, New York Rotarian Charles Chick Sale, one of the most famous comic performers of the time, should head straight for the Chicago Club's headquarters in the Sherman Hotel. The Sherman House was one of Chicago's best-known hotels. It was the home of Rotary One for 61 years, and when it closed, Rotary One was the last to move its office from the famous hotel. Charles A. Schmidt was born in Neustadt, Germany, and became Assistant Secretary of the Rotary Club of Chicago in 1922. Schmidt served for the next 44 years, becoming a member in 1927 and secretary in 1947, a post he held until his retirement in 1966. The 1918 influenza epidemic forced the club to shut down for 3 weeks, resulting in the creation of the Rotary Roundtable tradition. Past President Herb Angster was also the first district governor. From the very early days of Rotary, social events offered many opportunities to meet not only fellow Rotarians, but their families as well. Regular weekly luncheons featured prominent speakers and entertainers, including the world-renowned John Philip Sousa and his band of 200 Blue Jackets. Early Rotarians enjoyed dinner and theater parties, athletic outings like golf, bowling, or tennis, and Chicago's weather permitting, good old-fashioned picnics in the park. Through world wars and other history-changing events, the boys of 1905 always found ways to focus on the positive and the good in mankind. Every event, from the ending of a war to the changing of a season, was an opportunity to promote fellowship. Every idea was worth hearing, and many of them are working just fine to this very day. Sam Gorsline was sales manager for American Can Company. Paul Harris was an attorney, but his adventurous spirit saw him through many other experiences. After graduating from the University of Iowa Law School, he traveled for 5 years, working as a reporter, cowboy, teacher, orange picker, hay baler, marble salesman, actor, and worker on a cattle boat. In 1896, he began to practice law in Chicago, and 9 years later started Rotary. Jean Harris had come to Chicago in 1904 from Scotland with her parents, brothers, and sisters. She and Paul met one Saturday afternoon while hiking and were married 3 months later. Paul and Jean Harris were justly proud of their home in the Beverly Hills district on Chicago's South Side. Their home on a wooded hill was christened Cumley Bank, after the name of the street where she was raised in Edinburgh. Rotarian Charles Schneider was president of the Charles Schneider Floral Company, and like many of the founding members, was approaching retirement age. But the boys of 1905 were confident in the foundation they had established and ready to entrust the future of Rotary to the next generation. Rotarian Al White, a man with a wonderful sense of humor, never faltered, even after suffering the effects of a serious stroke. The pioneers of Rotary thought of themselves as ordinary men with an extraordinary spirit, infectious enthusiasm, and a duty to help those less fortunate than themselves. Legendary Chicago urban planner and architect Daniel H. Burnham said, "Make no little plans." For founder Paul Harris, the concept of Rotary always extended as far as the ability of Rotarians to reach out to others. Chess Perry, the first and only national and international secretary, originated the name badge and presided over the first Rotary convention in 1910. Co-founder Harry Ruggles of the Harry Ruggles Printing Company started the luncheon singing tradition in 1905, leading Rotarians with his baton as they belted out such standards as the Stein Song. Sylvester Sheely, the first president of the Chicago Club, was a successful coal dealer and responsible for organizing many charitable programs. William Jensen, the first secretary of any Rotary Club, was in the real estate business. Rufus Chapin, nicknamed Roughhouse because he was such a gentle, agreeable soul, was secretary of the Union Trust Company and treasurer of Rotary International for 25 years. Another past president, Charles Newton, was the originator of the Rotary luncheon idea. Monty Bear of the M.M. Bear Company, which did steel and copper plate engraving, was the designer and creator of the first rotary wheel, the emblem of Rotary. Al White was president of A.L. White Manufacturing Company, makers of cut glass and folding organs, and was the club's second president. Will Neff, a State Street dentist, was secretary of the Chicago Club for many years. Clark Hawley, an eye, ear, nose, and throat doctor, was the Rotarian who started the club's charity service idea in 1907 with the purchase of a horse for a country doctor. John Sullivan owned a painting and decorating business. Barney Arnson was a mortician, but his nickname Cupid showed that he was better known for his matchmaking abilities. Bob Fletcher, an architect, devoted much of his free time supporting the growth of public libraries. Harry Crofts was president of Illinois Paper Box Company and a past president who, due to his travels, attended many meetings in California. Nicknamed the Boy Orator, Charlie Schneider always voiced his opinion when club issues arose. He was president of Schneider Floral Company and the unofficial recorder of the club. Affable Fred Tweed built his glass sign business from 2 employees to over 700 and was instrumental in founding the New York Club. Max Goldenberg, president of the Goldenberg Furniture Company, built and donated the President's Chair, now on display in the Rotary One Club's offices. Rotarians of every race and creed gather in over 150 countries around the world to carry on the fellowship and tradition of service established by the boys of 1905. The warm and generous spirit that reverberated across the banquet room of the Sherman Hotel so many years ago echoes today in the laughter and smiles of millions who benefit from the charitable programs of Rotarians in every corner of the globe. Rotary One Chicago, Paul Harris's founding club, remains today a vibrant example of the ideals established by the boys of 1905. Its Tuesday luncheons, just a few blocks from the original Sherman Hotel, feature prominent speakers and warmly welcome visiting Rotarians from clubs all around the world. The Gyrator has also come a long way, but is still written by Rotarians and still reports on the many charitable Rotary One events that carry on the work of the founding members. And it all started in 1905 with the simple idea that people with vision could work together and make a difference in the world.
I'm Mark Miller, Vice President of High Performance Leadership at Chick-fil-A, and I am delighted to be presenting at the Rotary Works Encore production, Rotary Remains Relevant. I want to invite you to join me as we talk about how to escape the quicksand of our everyday world so that we can scale our impact. The Rotary Works initiative is changing lives. I want you to join us on April 23rd. It might just change yours.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians and guests, and welcome to Encore, Rotarians Remain Relevant, a Rotary Works webinar production presented by Zones 33 and 34. My name is Peter Kyle. I'm a Director of Rotary International, and it is my great pleasure to open the evening's production this evening by thanking our keynote speakers, past Rotary International President Barry Rassin and past Rotary International Director Stephanie Urchik, as well as the entire Rotary Works team responsible for this production. Our Rotary Works team has worked diligently to provide meaningful information to fellow Rotarians, offering a hands up to those in need during the pandemic crisis, sharing much needed information used to support and enhance many lives professionally and personally. To share further insight into our vision, I would like to introduce the Rotarian responsible for this outstanding initiative, the one and only, the awesome, the wonderful, past Rotary International Director, Stephanie Urchik. Stephanie, please take it away.
Thank you, Director Peter, and welcome to all of my family of Rotary who are joining today to learn more about our Rotary Works Encore event, Rotary Remains Relevant. We have an exciting program set for this evening, as well as one that runs until 2 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon. You'll hear more about those details a bit later in our broadcast. Rotary Works is an initiative we launched in 2020 during the pandemic. It was a response to the challenges faced by many Rotarians and Rotaractors within Zones 33 and 34, who suddenly were experiencing career transitions. They were losing hours, they were losing jobs, or they might have been in jobs that needed refreshing. So the initiative has distinct programs. One provides education, one serves to coach and mentor and network, and a third is a financial grant opportunity for participants. We launched our Career Development Professional Series first. That's where we encouraged members to participate in monthly Zoom webinars on a regularly scheduled basis. Every month, we had a session with business professionals in career development who exchanged ideas and allowed participants to have conversations about their career concerns. These speakers provided information and inspiration for many seeking opportunities in self-exploration, self-improvement, and ultimately in seeking employment or entrepreneurial prospects. A hugely successful series. We established a job board throughout our many districts and at the zone level for those who were wishing to post or search for employment opportunities. Our website also has many vetted resources for individuals to use, as well as recordings of some of our past programs. In fact, some of these programs have been edited for use and can be used as a Rotary Club program. A mentorship program was established to match Rotarians and Rotaractors with other Rotarians and Rotaractors who offer valuable and relevant information as part of a remarkable vocational service opportunity. This program also includes a mock interview option. And finally, we established the Rotary Works Impact Fund, designed to assist Rotarians and Rotaractors who may have experienced financial stress as a result of the pandemic. The Impact Fund provides an opportunity to apply for a one-time grant of $500 to help meet immediate needs. This May, we'll be making some changes to and expanding our mentorship program, and we'll be adding a new monthly job club for Zone Rotarians and Rotaractors. This will give our Rotarians and Rotaractors who were seeking employment a place to share stories and ideas and ask questions about their own employment search. Rotary remains relevant because Rotarians continue to serve those in need. I am extremely proud of this vocational service initiative and the Rotary Works team that pulled it all together selflessly. Thanks to all of them. It's now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, who is well known and well respected throughout the Rotary world. Please join me in welcoming one of the most inspiring and motivational Rotarians I know, my friend, past Rotary International President, Barry Rassin.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's great. Nice introduction. And I thank you and your team for what you've done with Rotary Works. I think this is an extraordinary opportunity for Rotarians and Rotaractors, and it really brings a new relevance to the organization and to us as individuals. And I think that's really important. This is a time in our history over the last 2 years where we needed programs like this. And you stepped right up and started something new and different in order to really come to terms with some of the challenges that we had. We kind of have to start off talking about this, reminding us all that we are a membership organization that does service. When you think about it in those terms, then it's pretty obvious we need to continue to help each other, as Rotary Works does. We need to continue using our skills, our vocations, our wisdom, etc., to help each other and to help even individuals in other clubs, Rotaractors, Rotarians, in any way we can. We have that opportunity because we've had the experience, we've been there, we've done that, and we should share that with others. And that's what helps make us relevant for today, as opposed to 20 years ago. Rotary Works is a great example of Rotarians helping Rotarians and Rotaractors. Their coaching and mentorship program offers guidance for your career path. Too often in the past, we've forgotten that we need to help each other with our own growth and development, and that includes our career path. Rotary Works has done that for us. It has reminded us, and that will keep us relevant no matter what. We all know that our networking for each individual member is substantial, and we need to share that networking. Everything we do in Rotary should be shared. It's you know, we're not here to get copyrights and patents. We're here to learn and learn from each other as we do that. What better way than our avenue of service called vocational service? Really important, and yet so many clubs in this part of the world don't really talk much about vocational service. We use it. It's kind of subtle, it's in the background, but we use it. How many clubs recite the four-way test every time we have a meeting? That's part of the vocational service. And I want to quote to you the second object of Rotary, saying, and I quote, "High ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of the worthiness of all useful professions, and the dignifying of each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve society." That's vocational service. So we're talking about ethics with our four-way test and spreading the word of ethics throughout. We're talking about recognition of how important each one of our professions are. And we're talking about dignifying each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve our society. Every one of us has something to give to make that opportunity even better for our communities. We need to use that. We need to remember that. We need to stay focused on that, and that will help us to keep relevance. We know the four-way test. I bet you every single person on this call could recite the four-way test. But do we really think it through as to what it means to us? The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time always thinking with all four of the four-way test. It's hard to do. I can say it, and I do it, but to think it all the time, that's a challenge. But we have to accept that challenge and make sure we're always trying to improve and do better. We've always got to be sure that whatever we're doing, we're talking the truth. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you really don't want to tell the truth. I was on a call this morning talking about the environment, and there was an individual there who was saying, I'm a straight shooter. I tell you just like it is, and there is climate change. We need to talk true like that. We need to be outright and honest about what we're saying. Be polite, be respectful, but be truthful, because the truth is what carries us to the things that we need to do in the future. And of course, we all know we have to be fair to everybody. That's just good common sense. If we're fair to everybody, we treat everybody with respect, then we get that back and we work better together. And of course, building goodwill and better friendships. If I was not a member of Rotary, I would not have the friendships I have today. That's a fact. I wouldn't have the goodwill I have, both personally and from my company point of view, if I wasn't a member of Rotary. But I am. And I have an obligation as being a member to make sure that I'm continuing to help that process to be sure that we do spread our goodwill and our better friendships. And of course, whatever we do should be beneficial to all. And again, that's not easy. Sometimes you have to make decisions that might affect one group better than another group. How do you make sure it's beneficial to all? It's not as easy as we make it sound every time you say the words. And that's because we can't just say the words. We have to believe them, we have to understand them, and we have to live by them. And that sometimes means making a compromised position so that we truly can be beneficial to all involved. So some things we need to just put into action. And that means how do we use vocational service? Well, one of the things we can do is talk about your profession in your club. Let's share who we really are from our skills point of view, from our professions, from our education. What happens in our part of the world? Every time I hear a new member talk about what their profession is or what their life is, I learn something. And it's fascinating to listen to the stories and understand better what all various professions and occupations are all about. I still remember my very first one. I joined a Rotary Club 42 years ago, and they asked me to do my job talk, and I was told it was only 5 minutes, and then they decided, well, since you're starting a new business, you need to talk for 20 minutes. I had never given a speech before in my life. I'm thinking, how in the world do I do this? And that's when you realize what Rotary can help you as an individual to grow. We'll talk a little more about that later, but it's about using our skills to serve others. I was able there to talk about healthcare and new hospital and what we could do and how we can develop and bring modern healthcare to the country. I could bring that to the organization, and then all the members can bring that to our community. And suddenly we're using our vocation in a masterful way to get a community involved with a profession. And we can do that with all levels of our occupations. And of course, we need to practice always with integrity, and we need to inspire others to behave ethically. Many of us have given either cards or letters or notes or posters or even plaques on walls with the 4-way test on, so that we could remind members of our community how important it is to behave ethically. I know in the Bahamas, we put a bronze plaque on every school in the country so that every student would have a chance to learn about ethics. And again, it's not just reading the words, it's about understanding them. And that's where we come in with vocational service in our clubs to help our communities to truly engage themselves in what do those 4 sentences mean. Because it goes way beyond the words, as I've said. We also, in vocational service, have to remind ourselves that we need to help our young people to achieve their career goals. Our young professionals they are in a fast-moving world, much faster than it was when I joined 40 years ago. And with a fast-moving world, they need to move quicker than we do. Guess what? We can help them to do that. And we have an obligation and a responsibility to help our young professionals develop their career goals. I remember speaking with a young Rotaractor, and she asked me about my profession. I explained healthcare, and it was like 6 months later, she came back to me and said, I'd like to meet you again and talk about this because I've decided to get my degree in hospital administration, hospital management. Wow, how good that makes you feel, because they've heard about what you can do in healthcare to help others, and they want to join them. That was like 4 or 5 years ago, and just recently, that same individual got back to me and said, I've finished my first year of my health administration program, and now I'm going to start my residency, and wants to talk again. Are we talking about mentorship? Absolutely. But it all starts with just talking about our occupation, talk about what we do, talk about our careers, and other people get interested and excited and they get inspired and they want to be a part of it. So we have to guide others as they move toward their professional development into the future. That's really a key. It's what this is all about. And keep in mind, we started so many years ago, again, in vocational service, but with the classification system, it was very strict. When I joined my Rotary Club, I was the only person under the classification of healthcare administration. Nobody else could come in. They could be an additional active, so it was kind of a subcategory, but basically I represented the entire profession. Now we've loosened up since then, but back then you talk about diversity, that was our diversity. We were diverse because we were all different from different professions, and we all came together to serve a purpose and to be relevant to our communities. And it worked like a charm. Yeah, the world changes, and the world has changed significantly and will continue to change. We have to roll with that. We have to understand, what do we have to do different to be sure that we are changing as the world changes? No question about that. It always comes back to me. My first exposure, it really helped me get a passion for Rotary, helped me understand what Rotary can do, and really gave me an understanding of the power of our professions. It was early on in my year, I was only maybe 3 or 4 years in, I was chairman of the Community Service Committee, and the president came and asked me to please help this individual. This was an elderly lady in her 50s, and she had diabetes, she was in a wheelchair, she had kidney problems, so she was on dialysis, and now her eyes were going. We couldn't do the surgery locally to fix her eyes, but we could do it at a center somewhere else. So the president said, I'd like you to make the arrangements so we can get her eye surgery. So I'm saying, okay, what's the budget? Oh, we have no budget, just get it done. How many times have we heard that in Rotary? Just get it done. And guess what? We always do. Again, you're talking about relevant, absolutely relevant. Here's an individual who needs help, and they've come to me because I'm in healthcare. I represent healthcare to the club, therefore that's my job. I'm thinking, well, how can I do this? I'm new in Rotary, I don't really know how it all works. But I did know we had a directory, and I could call individuals who were in those classifications that I needed. So I called a Rotarian in Miami, said, I need this patient to go to Bascom Palmer because that's where they can do some wonderful eye surgery and save her eyesight. They said, well, no problem. I know a member of Bascom Palmer who's in Rotary, and they gave me their number. I called them. The hospital immediately said, absolutely, send them over, and we will provide the eye surgery at no charge. Fantastic. I said, but what doctor would I use? And she said, well, here's a name of a doctor and a number. Just call him, and I'm sure he would be happy to help. So I did. I called him, also a Rotarian, classification medical doctor, asked him to help us. He said, no problem, no charge for the patient. So now I needed somewhere for them to stay. So I, again, called back to my original Rotarian friend by now and said, what do I do? Where can they stay over there? They said, well, we have a Rotarian in the club who is manager of a hotel near Bascom Palmer. Call them at this number. I did. And of course, he immediately said, of course, we'll give them a room as long as they need it. And I was sending the patient and her daughter, so that she had somebody to take care of her while she's over there. Then all I had to get them to Miami. I went locally to our airline and I said, because he was in Rotary and his classification was airline services. And I asked him if he had any suggestions how he could help. He said, absolutely, we'll give you 2 seats on Bahamas Air and we'll get them there and back whenever you need to. I mean, that's vocational service. That's about looking up people in those vocations. We then sent her over. She got her eye surgery. She came back. All went well. Didn't cost us anything other than the couple of dollars we gave her to make sure she had food to eat while she was there, she and her daughter. But here I am. I'm a new Rotarian. I'm learning. Relevant? This is incredible. We can change a life just by making phone calls. Absolutely fabulous that we can do that. So we need to continue that. Now, part of this has to be that personal development we talked about earlier. I'm sure by now all of you know how we've elevated Rotaract in the last 3 years, and we've done an amazing job in Rotary for changing their position in Rotary. We now have in our bylaws that Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs are members of Rotary, equals. We've changed many of our policies in order to accomplish that in all levels. They're now included in all of our committees, and many districts have them on district committees. A number of districts now have them as assistant governors in the district. So we've really done an amazing job to move Rotaract up. But we can't abandon them in that position. They're young professionals, they don't have the experience. We need to be out there and mentoring. And again, Rotary Works is helping with that mentorship. So let's make use of that opportunity. With mentoring, we can help with professional development. We know that Rotary Works has an impact fund that raises funds to support Rotarians and Rotaractors with a hands up. Again, we don't just hand out money. We give people an opportunity to lift themselves up. And if that means that's part of our opportunity to provide support, then that's what we need to do. And that's not only professional development, but leadership development. Leadership skills growth is so important to our young professionals. They're moving at a rapid rate, like I said. So we need to help them to get there where they need to go. Give them the skills. We've done so much toward that over the last couple of years. It's really beautiful to watch. I got to tell you, I'm so proud as a Rotarian to see our Rotaractors just blooming around the world. I mean, Rotaract in Europe got together, all the countries of Europe, to help the refugees from Ukraine. Rotaractors, okay, they put up 4 different committees, one for transportation, one medical, one supplies, one for helping the refugees find housing, and they've done it. Okay, let's not look at Rotaractors as just our young members. These are equal to us because they're doing an incredible job. But we need to help to mentor them and lead them and guide them with the skills. Tomorrow, you're going to hear from John Smarge talking about the amazing opportunity to grow your leadership skills just by being a member of a club, especially a Rotary or a Rotaract club. And going to our Learning Center. If those of you haven't seen our Learning Center later, you would see an unbelievable array of opportunities to learn and develop. And it's not just Rotary information. We need that, but it's about skill development. It's about learning how to be a better person. It's about learning how to make a good speech. We have an agreement with Toastmasters, and I went through the Learning Center yesterday just to make sure they were there. I found 9 modules that Toastmasters had written in Rotary language so that we could get their expertise in leadership, but using it in a Rotary way. What an opportunity. And they're getting a lot of hits, not only by Rotaractors, but by Rotarians at all levels, because all of us can always improve our skills. That's what we do. So let's continue to use that as a tool to help us with our mentorship, to help us to grow our Rotaractors. You know, Rotaract, and I'm going to call it Rotaract and Rotary Works, because it's a benefit for membership growth. If we excite everybody by helping them develop individually, then they're going to want to stay with Rotary. That's just a natural. So let's help them do that. We've come such a long way. So I just want to tell you a last story, because vocational training team to me is a magnificent part of vocational service. It's where we take experts from one country and send them to another country in order to help that country with their particular skills. And the one I went to visit and just see how they did, I just spent 2 days with them. They were there for 8 days. 17 surgeons from India gave up their surgical practice, all different specialties, went to Madagascar to provide their surgical expertise. And in 8 days, they did 3,500 procedures. 8 days. A couple of them, we all met for breakfast and dinner every day just to kind of get an update of what we're doing, going to do, and what we've done. 2 surgeons I noticed never showed up for breakfast or dinner till the end. Why? They wanted to go in early and do more than they otherwise could. They wanted to stay late so they could just finish maybe 1 or 2 more. 80% of the surgeries were on children. So we're talking about incredible opportunity. But they also then trained 7 of the local surgeons to do what they do. So this could continue into the future. Talk about vocational service at its best. Talk about relevancy. We've begun to transform a country with one vocational training team. You have helped to transform that country because you're a part of it. You support our Rotary Foundation. So are we relevant? Not only relevant, we are unbelievable as an organization. That vocational training team I mentioned in Madagascar, I just want to finish with a story about an individual, a young man who I took back to the recovery room. I waited there. I'm in my gown, but of course I had a rotary wheel on my gown. You have to walk around knowing they know that you're in Rotary. And this young man, he was probably 11 or 12 years old. When he woke up, he looked around the room, kind of groggy, but he looked at me and he smiled. Now, people coming out of surgery don't always smile. In fact, I've never seen anybody smile before. But when he looked at me, he saw the rotary wheel, he smiled. And he said, thank you. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we are so relevant to our world today. We need to keep that in mind and remember that these are the stories that make us powerful. And that was just one child, but that was 1 out of 3,500. That was just one vocational training team out of all that we do every year. We are an amazing organization. I don't want you to ever forget that. And I want to thank Rotary Works for what they're doing to help us stay relevant, to help us continue with our mentorship programs. Because I think that is just one of our best opportunities. When you look at Rotaract and their opportunity to join a Rotary Club, and yet in the past years, they haven't done that. And that's because we started a Rotaract Club and walked away and left them to their own. We bring that mentorship back and we spend time as Rotary Clubs working with our Rotaractors. We spend time helping them understand Rotary and what it is. We spend time helping with them to develop their skills. They get to know us. They create that relationship with us. And guess what? Of course, they're going to join our Rotary Club. My Rotary Club has 100% transition from Rotaract to Rotary. And it's only because they know us. They're comfortable with us. Too many Rotary Clubs aren't doing that. We need to do that. That makes us even more relevant to Rotaractors because now we're a part of their life as Rotary, not only as Rotaract. So that mentoring has to continue, has to go forward, has to help them to develop. And part of that, you know, we tend to forget sometimes that one of the skills we have as leaders is to listen. As we listen to our Rotaractors and hear what they want from us, and then maybe we could make some changes in our Rotary Club so that our Rotaractors feel more comfortable with us. We do that. And we've solved our membership problem. And we do know we have a membership problem, but not so much as recruiting. We brought in 1.4 million Rotarians in the last 10 years. But we haven't grown at all. Why? Because they all leave. We're not engaging our members. And it's that engagement. And we can use vocational service to make sure they're engaged, to make sure they want to be a part of Rotary for the long term. We engage our Rotarians and our Rotaractors, and our membership will grow faster than it's ever grown before. It sounds so easy, right? But it's up to each one of us as individuals. It's not Rotary International. It's not even the district. It's the members of the Rotary Club that need to reach out to every member of the club. I'm scared for my club. I'm told we have 150 members. Today we had 22 in person and 25 online. Well, that doesn't come anywhere near 150. So what's going to happen July 1st when dues are due? Are they going to pay dues? Or have we just lost 100 members? We don't know. But that's because we're not engaging them. This pandemic has made it 10 times harder to engage each of our members. That means we have to be proactive in our goal to reach each and every member of the club in whatever way is good for them. Some love Zoom, engage them on Zoom. Some love in person, engage them. Some aren't sure what to do. Let's call them and contact them and find out what they want to do and then help them to do it. That is what makes us relevant. That is what makes Rotary work, because we're working with each other. We're sharing our goals. We're showing each other we care. It's a simple matter. So we have a lot to do still, but it comes from the Rotary clubs. It comes from the members. If every one of you reach out and engage someone you're not sure is still engaged in your club, I bet you'll keep them for the long term. Because that's what many just want. They just want to know that somebody cares. Vocational service, that avenue of service gives us that opportunity to show our members that we care, that we want to do things that are good for them. And we want our club to adjust so that all the members of the club are excited to be a member of the club. It's not about a clique at a table. People want to sit at the same table every week, so what? But are they engaged in what the club does? They come there because they love to come there, but keep them engaged in all facets of the club, especially in those that they want to be a part of. Some just want to write a check. Okay, I've been Rotary 50 years. I'll give you help, whatever you want, but I'm not going to come paint a building. Okay, there are others who want to come paint a building. We're all different. We have to understand on a personal level what our skills are, what we want to do, and then engage them on that level. And you're going to get everybody involved in whatever they want to be involved in. And that's the key. We have to meet their expectations, meet their needs as individuals. You know, I have a master's degree. I was CEO of a hospital, but I learned leadership by being a committee chair and a president of my Rotary Club. They taught me leadership. And that's the leadership that each one of us need to help our young professionals understand. When you're leading volunteers, that's a different kind of leadership. But that leadership translates really well to be leading in a company where there are employees, because we treat everybody with respect. We treat everybody on a personal level. We give everybody the benefit to do their jobs the way they need to get them done, and to help build their skills so they can do them well, not just to leave them on their own. This is a time in our history that we need to embrace our engagement of every member of Rotary International. And I know we can do it because we're an amazing organization filled with amazing people. I have met some of the most incredible individuals in my life. And guess what? They're all in Rotary. They may be in Rotaract, they may be in Rotary clubs, but they're all in Rotary. We need to grow that. We need to learn that. We need to engage that. We need to really embrace that opportunity to work together for each other, for our organization, and to make our world a better place. That's why we're here. So let's always remember what that young man said in Madagascar. When he saw the Rotary wheel, he smiled. He said, thank you. Let's use our vocational service to ensure that we continue with the service that we provide to make people feel good about what we do, to give them hope, to give them that hands up so they can live a better life. Thank you all so much for listening. I think this is a real opportunity for us to be leaders as we take Rotary to a new place in our history. So I wish you really well. I know you're going to want to do wonderful things in the future. Thank you all. Thank you for listening tonight.
Past President Barry, thank you for another fabulous presentation. You've helped encourage our members to keep the four-way test and ethics in the forefront of what we say and do, and to remain relevant by using our vocations in service. You know, Barry, every time you speak, we expect great, and you did not disappoint us. As you can imagine, we have some questions that have popped up. I want to remind people that if you do have a question for past President Barry, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're using an iPad, it'll be at the top. Do not use the chat box. We're going to do our best to ask as many of your questions as possible. So Barry, a question has come through already. We have a participant who said, you know, we've heard a lot about what we're doing with Rotaractors. Do you have suggestions for how to engage and grow interactors?
So it's an interesting question that I get a lot. There's three groups. There's the Interact Club. Well, you also have the Early Act, but you have the Interact Club, you have the university-based Rotaract, you have the community-based Rotaract, and they're really three very different groups. The community-based are already in their career, ready to roll, ready to get into clubs and do service. The university is kind of learning. The high school level is an area where what we need to do is get into every high school and help them to learn service. If we have good leaders you need a good teacher in the school so that the teacher can help guide and help monitor and mentor. But you also need a good Rotarian working with them to help them understand that service level. And every club should have started an Interact club or two so that they can spend that time helping our young people just to, that's when they're most ready to absorb whatever we show them and talk to them about. We show them what service means in their lives, then they're going to want to adopt it forever. To me, I've always talked about this highway that we're on, and we join that highway usually at an Interact club level. But stay on the highway. So you go, and we need to have a conscious discussion with interactors to stay on that highway so they go to university Rotaract, to a community-based Rotaract, and then to Rotary. Because for the rest of their life, they have to understand they can make the world a better place. So it's a matter of getting those clubs started, spending time with them, help them with their skills, and just the basic understandings of how important it is for them to do service.
You're so right. It's never too early to instill the concept of service in young people. So thank you. Great ideas. There's another question. Barry, your experience in leadership has been vast and is much appreciated. Can you talk about how you maintained all that composure during the challenges of COVID in the Bahamas and how that positive attitude contributed to the success you had?
I've been very fortunate in my life that it's hard to stress me out. I've been asked to do so many things, and I just, you juggle, you get them done because you want to do a good job and whatever. I always find it's important to stay busy and to not let the distractors take you off course. There's always going to be distractors. There's always those who are there who are going to say, you know, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Okay, they have their opinion, let them have it, but keep your principles and stay focused. During, when we could in the Bahamas, the government finally got vaccines and they asked me to get on the committee to help with the vaccination program in the country. Okay, no problem, I could join a committee. I'm not traveling during the pandemic. It wasn't until I joined the committee that I realized what they really wanted me to do was to be responsible for the day-to-day activities in every vaccination center we had. This was their way of bringing Rotary into running the centers, and I did. And 12 months we were out there, and you want to be proud of Rotarians. Incredible how they showed up day after day, week after week, month after month as volunteers. We finally, after 9 months, said, no, we've got to pay them, it's too much. So being involved in that, though, helped me to stay focused, helped me to be doing something that was helping my country. And that, to me, that's always a good thing. If you can, you know, you're serving a good purpose, then that helps you deal with whatever the negativities are. Yeah. And by the way, when you do that kind of thing on such a large level, you get incredible feedback. We had somebody go to the Prime Minister and ask them if Rotary could please take over the country because of our organization. A little embarrassing, but okay, that was fine. And I've brought into my club 4 members in the last 2 months because they saw what Rotary did at the vaccination centers. All the communities have to do is see what we do. So those are the kind of things that just make me proud and make me know, stay focused, don't let anybody distract you, just keep on going and keep a good attitude because that helps everybody work with you.
Great. Here's another question. Rotary has taken somewhat of a step back from considering vocations or classification system as a way to grow membership. In your opinion, what has that done to membership growth? And is there anything that we should be doing to rectify, change, or modify it?
You know, that's a tough question because I see both sides. We've trying to think of a polite word to say. We've changed the rules of Rotary to become more and more flexible over time. You know, first a very strict classification, then it got a little less, then a little less. Each council, to the point today, really, I'm not sure we're even using it. Certainly my club does, everybody gets a classification, but we're not promoting it like we should. And I think we've lost something with that. I think it makes us stronger when we're looking. I mean, I remember as a club, we said we need a plumber. We don't have a plumber in this club. And we actively went out and looked for a good plumber that we could bring into our club. We don't do that anymore. And I think that's an opportunity lost that we could go back to. The days when we would ask every member of the club or every table we would assign one classification, go find somebody in that classification, an opportunity for membership growth. I think the same is true with attendance. We've changed that rule so many times that today attendance isn't really important. And you could justify attendance at service opportunities is much more important than at club meetings, but it's the fellowship at the club meetings that drive us to do more service. It's important to have good attendance, but it's no longer a requirement. Is that something that we should look back at? And keep in mind, some parts of the world do, by the way. If you go to Asia, vocational service is critical. In Asia, when they started hearing the Rotary Board talking about not having a vocational service committee, they objected to the board right away. They're very strong on vocational service, very strong on attendance. Just that this council last week, they brought some items, none of which won, but they brought some items to try to strengthen those areas of Rotary. So again, it varies in parts of the world.
Great. Barry, we have more questions, but obviously we ran out of time, so we're not going to be able to get to them. But, you know, we thank you so much. There aren't enough words of gratitude. We appreciate you, and we thank you very much for being with us. This has been an inspiring evening. Rotarians and, yes, our Rotaractors need to share their talents, give of their time, and contribute of their treasures to make our world a better place through service to others. This production has been a presentation and dialogue about Rotary remaining relevant, and there's more exciting news to share. I would now like to introduce our Rotary Works Encore Chair, past District Governor Cyndi Doragh. Cyndi is from District 6960, and she's going to share information about tomorrow's fantastic production. Cyndi.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Barry. That was so inspiring. We really appreciate the time and the energy. And yes, we have such an amazing lineup coming your way tomorrow. So we're going to just go right down the board real quickly, share some of the names and the topics. We begin bright and early tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we're literally going to run throughout the day until 2 o'clock. We're going to start, of course, with Peter Kyle, our director, who's going to introduce our Rotary International President nominee, Gordon McAnally. He's coming to us directly from Scotland, and what a motivational message he's going to have for us. Then we're going to follow Gordon with our next speaker, and we're excited to have Rotary International Director and Vice President Valerie Wafer. She comes from the west coast of the country, but she's actually at a district conference this weekend, and she's finding time to meet with us and talk to us about how important it is to use our time, talent, and treasure, which is exactly what Barry just talked to us about. Following Valerie tomorrow morning, we have Mark Miller. Mark Miller is the high performance leadership individual at Chick-fil-A National, and he has a story to tell that you won't want to miss, because he is not a Rotarian, but he values Rotary, and his message directly relates to how powerful Rotary is around the world. Following Mark, we have a wonderful, wonderful lady, past district governor, Vanessa Irwin. She's going to come share her passion for Rotary. She's going to share with you what keeps her motivated and what keeps her excited and engaged in Rotary. She is a dynamo, so you absolutely do not want to miss the message from Vanessa Irwin. Following Vanessa, we have a gentleman coming to us, Jonathan Lucas. He is a writer, a motivator, and he really wants to talk to us about how we stay engaged and how we avoid the quicksand of life, because sometimes we just get stuck around some of the topics that want to mire us down. But the future of work, what is the future of work? And he'll have a great message on that. Following him, we're going to spend a little bit of time with our youth. We have a dynamic young lady, MJ Boxman, Emily, we call her MJ for short. She's going to come talk to us about working up through the system as a youth service student, and how she is now a Rotaractor, and talk about how important it is that mentoring is working through our Rotarians. We're going to be followed up with past Rotary International Director John Smarge, Masters in Real Life. John is a proponent and supporter of Rotary Works, and he's going to talk about how important just living our lives through Rotary is going to provide such a positive impact to our members. Following him will be Rotarian Giselle Holder from the Caribbean. She is a Rotaractor, but now a Rotarian, and she's going to talk to us about reaping the benefits of Rotary through Rotaract and how we can really impact our Rotaractors. Following Giselle is the Waterman. George Lewis is a dynamic Rotarian from District 6960, and he wants to have everyone be able to enjoy clean water and sanitation, and he's going to share his passion for bringing that to the world. And then we're going to close our day with Sylvia Whitlock, the first female Rotary Club president. No turning back, positive momentum. She is so excited to be with us tomorrow that we can't wait to hear from her. And then, of course, our fearless leader, past Rotary International Director Stephanie, will end our day thanking everyone for participating. If you have not registered, or if you know anyone that hasn't registered, encourage them. We assure you the messages tomorrow received by those participating are so dynamic, so inspirational, and so worth your time and energy. We hope that you will take the time to join us. We have the link that we're going to share. People can still register for it. But on behalf of Rotary Works Encore, we want to thank our speaker this evening, past Rotary International President Barry Rassin, of course, our director, Peter Kyle, and past director, Stephanie. I thank you on behalf of the Rotary Works Encore team, and we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. So please tune in and see the big difference that Rotary Works is providing Rotarians around the world, but specifically through zones 33 and 34, as we continue to change lives and make a difference with that hand up. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. All the best.